Good morning. I don't know who's there. Looks like nobody, but I'll wait. I was going to talk about, there's somebody. I'm going to talk about Siddhartha again today. I'm going to talk about the chapters with the Samanas and Gautama. Hopefully you guys have read that. Those of you who are tuning in. I was, fired up and ready to go yesterday. Everything was familiar and I was, ready, but nobody came. Nobody showed up. Hi, Trevor. But people are here, maybe a couple people here today. So that's good. Maybe you guys, I know you guys, or some of you guys are still sleeping. So it's May. Happy May. It is May Day. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and look it up. If you're a concerned, citizen, looks like you might not want to shop at. It's okay. You might want to shop at Whole Foods, Amazon, FedEx, something else. What else was it? Walmart. Target. I'm probably forgetting something, but Amazon is the one that's killing me today because I just want to shop. I can't. So May 1st, that means that there are 21 days until the end of high school for you guys. That's 3 weeks from today. Is that right? Yeah, 3 weeks from today. That's not a long time. So I hope you're fired up. I hope you're excited. I know you're probably not as excited as you would have been had we, been the regular school year. But it is what it is. So make the best of what you've got is basically all I can suggest to you. I was looking at my earlier YouTubes yesterday. Hi, Francesca. When I was yesterday, and I saw that at the beginning I had hardly any beard. And my hair was much shorter, so who knows whenever this ends, what I'll look like? Probably a big, hairy, scary mess. I did have my hair brushed today, but my wife doesn't like it when I look clean cut and groomed, so she messed up my hair. So that's my excuse today. So let's talk about Siddhartha. If you saw the little bit that I posted yesterday. Towards the end, I said, I hope you're reading it, and I hope you notice that the idea here is Siddhartha is you, and that's why I like this book at this point in time. Maybe you're not on a religious quest. You're not searching for enlightenment or inner peace or good morning, or any of those things, or maybe you are. But, that's what Siddhartha is going to look for. He's going to look for how to get to enlightenment, how to lose his self, and he's on his way there. But you guys are kind of just leaving. Well, we'll talk more about it. So in the good morning. In the chapter with the Samanas, remember that the Samanas are like these monks that wander just from place to place, and they give up everything that they own. They have no possessions. They really have one article of clothing. They have no food. They have no money. And basically, they spend all their time meditating. And their idea, and the elder Samanas, their idea is that the more you meditate, the more you move away from yourself, and you become one with everything around you. So that's that idea of losing the self. Good morning. And you're right, Trevor, he does keep coming back to himself. So as he's meditating, right, he finds that he's so good at it and picks it up so quickly that he's able to leave his body, and he can go be part of a hawk and be part of a lizard or a deer or whatever, and live and die in their bodies as their soul. And then he always keeps coming back. So Siddhartha's biggest beef in that chapter is that he longs to get rid of himself and the idea of just his self, and kind of open himself up to nature and the world. But his biggest problem is that every time he goes somewhere else and he loses his self, he always returns back to his self as well. So that's his biggest frustration is that. So he experiences this life cycle that everybody experiences, life and then death. But his is more cyclical too, because of his experiences and his beliefs, and he sees life as a cycle, right? And you're born, you live, you die, then you're reborn, you live, you die, and it happens over and over and over again. And the only way to escape that cycle is to attain this idea of enlightenment, and to reach nirvana, and that's where he wants to get, and not a lot of people do. But he's becoming frustrated with just repeating the cycle over and over again, like many people would, right? I mean, obviously, if you're not getting anywhere, you're not progressing anywhere, regardless of whether you're looking for the meaning of life or your job or a relationship or whatever. If you're not making any progress anywhere, it's going to become a frustrating thing. So he's getting frustrated with that. He is trying to, through meditation, he's trying to escape. But he becomes frustrated, and his biggest gripe is, and he tells this to his best friend Govinda, is that he can learn, how to escape himself or, his problems or whatever he's going through in lots of different ways. And one of the ways that he suggests is he could just go to a brothel or to a bar, right? He could get drunk, forget about all his problems, and still come back the next day and have to start all over again, or his problems would still be there. So while I think he does learn a lot from being with Samanas about, suffering and giving things up and meditation and, a different perspective on learning in life, he's frustrated and realizes that he is not going to get where he wants to go with the Samanas. And he basically tells Govinda one day, I've had enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And really, it's kind of sped along by the arrival or the rumor of the Buddha. And they have heard this idea of this enlightened person, this person who reached nirvana, and he was very peaceful and very knowledgeable, and rumors have been spreading around. And Govinda wants to go and see him, and Siddhartha agrees, and that is a good excuse for moving on as far as Siddhartha is concerned as well. So in that case, remember that Govinda, who's usually his best friend and his follower, Govinda is also here kind of making the initial decision. He wouldn't do it without Siddhartha going with him, I don't think, but Siddhartha agrees to go along with him, and so that is the beginning of them moving on. So, and they go to tell the head of the Samanas that they're going to leave. The head of the Samanas, the main guy, is he's not really happy about it, and he curses at them for wanting to leave and kind of insults Siddhartha. But Siddhartha says, "Watch this," to Govinda, and he kind of takes over. He uses his meditation abilities and to switch into another being's body or to control him. He switches into the leader of the Samanas and kind of says, "Okay, well, you guys go ahead, have a great time." So Siddhartha is really, he's a special person. He's not Govinda. He's not an ordinary samana. He is somebody who really intelligent, really smart, really devout, and he takes over the old learned samana in that case and demonstrates that to it. So that's the end of that chapter, and they go off and they go see the Buddha. And the Buddha's name is Gautama. And if you were to go off after you're done with this, or maybe before, and do any looking around about what is Buddhism or Hinduism, and you would look into the idea of the Buddha. The Buddha is named Gautama, and so there's some Hermann Hesse, the author of this book, combines some fiction of this guy Siddhartha, with some maybe nonfiction, some reality, or some teachings of the real Buddha. So they hear about this guy, the real Buddha, Gautama, who is talking, who has a band of followers, who is just this most peaceful, enlightened guy, and they go off and they try to find him. So it's another chapter, but it's another example. So just to go back, Siddhartha in with the Samanas is another example, just like in the first chapter, where Siddhartha comes to this realization that, hey, I've kind of learned all I have to learn right here. I'm not going to learn any more right here, and I need to go find out what else there is to learn. So, again, the parallel that I like to make to, high school seniors, you guys, and this book is, again, it's another example of somebody who's reached the end, which you have, of one stage in their life and is going off to another stage. And hopefully the next stage is going to teach you more things just as much as you've just learned or you learned over the years. So again, we'll come back to that idea because it is a recurring idea. It's a motif, I think, in this book. So they go in Gautama, which is the next chapter, and Gautama is the Buddha. They go, and Gautama is hanging out in this garden that people have given to him. It's called Jedvana, and these guys are basically, it's Buddha. It's a bunch of people hanging around learning from the Buddha, his disciples, his people. And basically everything that the Govinda does, everything he says, it exudes this peaceful air, and people are following him. Everybody around him is, they've given up everything as well. They're his devout followers now. They go around begging for food during the daytime. People in the community, they give the food to these followers of the Buddha because giving is a noble thing, a generous thing. So that's when they says they go begging for alms, or they have their alms, ALMS bowl. Right, they're going from place to place, looking for food, for handout, for help. They've given up everything as followers, and they rely on people to support them. So Govinda, Siddhartha and Govinda go and they listen to Gautama, the Buddha, speak, and Govinda is just overwhelmed. So at the end of the speech, there's a time period where they say, who is now going to come and join the followers of the Buddha, and all these people step up, and Govinda does as well. So Govinda, for the first time in his life, and as far as we know, and the first time in his relationship with Buddha, with Siddhartha in this book, is Govinda is saying, I'm going to go do something on my own. And Siddhartha is both, proud of him and maybe a little sad that they're going to split ways as well. And Govinda then says to Siddhartha, what are you going to do? Aren't you going to join me and follow him? You haven't heard anybody smarter, anybody more enlightened, anybody else that's, this powerful, important, peaceful, enlightened, and you probably never will. And Siddhartha agrees, right? He says, I probably will never find somebody else, but this guy isn't giving me the answers that I'm looking for either. And his beef, again, just like it's been before, is his beef with the Buddha is going to be that, the Buddha just, tells you kind of how he got there maybe, or he tells you how to get to find, freedom. Really, he tells them that he'll show them how to get to freedom from suffering, which is what everybody, kind of aspires to do, being human beings. But he isn't going to tell them or teach them or show them how he got to be enlightened. And that is the flaw that Siddhartha sees with Buddha. So Siddhartha goes for a walk and he bumps into the Buddha as well. And he has a conversation with him, and he basically says, and he's very respectful of him, and he doesn't try to be insulting, but he does keep saying, how is it that people can follow you, or that I can follow you and expect to find what you found if you don't really promise that? If you're not telling your followers, this is where I'll take you, you just say, I'm going to take you to, freedom from suffering, but not to enlightenment. And the Buddha, Gautama, basically says, you're right. That's not what I tell my followers is, I'm not going to show them how to get into enlightenment. I'm going to show them how to, get free of suffering. So Siddhartha basically tells him there, I need to go out and, and do kind of what you did, right? I mean, the best way to learn about life or what it is that I'm looking for isn't going to be shown to me or told to me or taught to me, like it is to, these other guys. I'm going to have to go out and experience this on my own. And Siddhartha does realize, and he does tell the Buddha right there, and he does, explain to him. He says, look, there's nobody I'll ever meet who is going to be smarter, who is going to be more enlightened, who is going to be more peace, who is going to be more knowledgeable than you. And he says, I'll never, lower my eyes to another person the way I'll lower my eyes in respect to you again, but I do need to go out again on my own and find my own way, my own path, like you did. And at the end, Gautama basically just says, go ahead, do your thing. Just be careful, of too much of getting too much wisdom of what it is that you will, experience along the way. So he thinks that Siddhartha is a little arrogant, and maybe Siddhartha is a little arrogant, but Siddhartha also is curious. He realizes that, to get where he wants to go, to get to, maybe the level of the Buddha, it's not going to be something that the Buddha is going to say, hey, you got to go do this, you got to do this, go do this. He's going to have to go and do those things on his own. So that's where we end up at the end of that chapter as well. What's going to happen there is that Govinda is going to follow Gautama, the Buddha, and go off on his own, journey. And Siddhartha is now going to be alone, and he's going to go off on his own journey. He's gone through the experience of learning from, teachers. He's gone through the experience of, meeting the most enlightened person there is. And now he's going to go basically do the thing he really hasn't had up to this point, which is have his own experiences, to experience his own life and see where that takes him. So once again, another level of this where Siddhartha is, going from one experience to another experience to another experience, and realizing each time that, people can teach you things, but there's only a certain, extent, a certain, limit to how much other people can teach you, and other is a lot that you have to go out and learn on your own and experience for yourself. He's not going to get where he wants by sitting there taking notes and listening to the Buddha or to his father, or by meditating and not getting anywhere with the samana. So once again, Siddhartha is, as I like to say, and I could be completely wrong, but like I like to say, is Siddhartha is you, and you are Siddhartha. Not maybe in a religious sense, but in a educational, emotional, realizing that much of what you're going to learn in your life is not through what people tell you, right? It's what you do and don't do, and the mistakes you make and the choices that you take. Those are the things that are going to teach you the most in your life. So I think that's where we are with this chapter. I've talked for 19 minutes straight almost. Do you have any questions? I think I probably answered all the questions that are on the study questions. That's kind of what I tried to do. But I'll wait a minute and see if you have any questions. You can put them in the comments part right there. I'm going to drink this coffee. No questions. There's still 13 people there. There were 16 of you. Yesterday there was one. I think it was a teacher. So there's 13 people there just staring at the screen. I don't know. Maybe you're looking at questions. You're probably texting each other like Mr. Ritzer's a fool. Something like that. It's a nicer day out today. I'm glad about that. One comment, one question, something like, hey, Mr. Ritzer, this book is awesome. I certainly hope that school opens next year, because I don't like being a teacher and talking to a computer, which is really like just talking to myself, because all I see is myself. I don't see you guys, at least in Zoom. Sometimes I see you. I don't know the question. Okay. I don't know the answer to question 5 of chapter 3 because I don't know what that is. I don't have it up on my screen, and I'd have to open up a different window, and then I would just be, getting confused. But maybe if you think of what the question is and type that in, I can answer it. Yeah, I guess Siddhartha is hard to read. A lot of the stuff you don't need to spend too much time on every little part of it, right? I mean, if you're reading about how he's going into the mind of a crow or a dead lizard or whatever it was that he is, and that's slowing you down or it's repetitive or whatever, just check it off, see that you saw it, and move on. Don't get bogged down. I know, like, some of the chapters where Siddhartha is talking to Gautama, like at the end of that chapter that you read, whenever you read it this week. I mean, that's dense. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, I read it 4 times, before I started, felt good enough to come talk about it today. But, if you read it one time and you just get a sense, okay, he's having a conversation, don't get bogged down. I mean, skip it. All right. If there's a part that's, you're struggling with, skip it. Look at Spark Notes. Wait till he come on here and let's talk about it. I don't want you to, dwell on every single part of the book. It's not all, at least for us right now, it's not all, that important. There's important stuff in there, but, if you can maybe go back and look at it or something, that would be my suggestion. So yeah, I hear you. It's hard to read sometimes. And it's weird. And somebody yesterday or 2 days ago said, it's the worst book ever. But, some people complain about every book that I give you, so I can't win there. Let me switch windows here. What does the feet show? I don't know what feet that is. Let me see if I can switch over. I don't know if I'm still going to be on here if I switch over. Let's see here. There. I'm going to switch windows. I don't know if I'm still there. I'm going to assume that I am. Siddhartha study questions. Oh, now my Google wants me to sign in. And you know what I did? I changed my password like 10 times, and I can't remember any of the passwords that I picked. I don't know if that happens to you, but that happens to me all the time. I just let's see. Hopefully that's it. It's not it. I don't have any idea. I can't help you now. I can't look at the questions because I can't open my email because I don't remember my password. And question 8 on chapter 2. What about the part where it? All right, now it's all falling apart because I can't remember my passwords. I'm gonna have to write them down, but then I'm afraid somebody's gonna steal my identity and hack into my, All right, so what does the feet show? I think you're talking about the feet where the old Samana is kind of saying, you're a jerk, I don't want you to go, and he curses at him, and then Siddhartha kind of takes over his body, right? Siddhartha tosses his mind into the mind of the Samana and controls him. It basically shows that Siddhartha is a really powerful scholar or student, or has mastered all the teachings of the old Samanas, that he is, better, more learned, more talented at this idea of meditation and casting his soul, or whatever you want to call it, into the other person. So when he takes over the old Samana, he's really showing that he's more powerful, more enlightened, maybe not enlightened, but more knowledgeable than the old Samana is. My day is going great. Thank you, Elena. How's your day going? All right, so I think I answered that question about the feet with the Samana. Question 5 of chapter 3. Tara, I don't know if I answered that question for you or not. I'll wait another minute. And then when I get off the phone, I'm going to go make my password like something I'll never forget, like, Mr. Ritzer 2. That's a good one. But don't use that because I'm not going to use that one. All right. I'm going to call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday. Oh, good. You like the book. I don't think you did. I don't know what that was. Good. I hope you like the book. We're looking at this book. It's something that, some of you will love. It is a book that, I try to teach it every year. I always find some people who really, connect with this book and will look back and, you know, um, you know, talk about this book, 10 years from now. Just think of it as a kid on a journey, and we'll talk about it maybe next week a little bit like that. But he's on a journey like you are, and he hasn't gotten to the end yet. And he's got a lot of things that he's got to learn along that journey. And the next chapters when next couple of chapters when he meets his girlfriend, that's pretty good as well. So there we go. All right. Well, just woke up. It's 11:30. You need to be up and reading, studying, getting ready for whatever. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Don't forget you have your second zine entry due today. Don't forget you have your study questions that we just went over for these chapters. And I'll see you next week. I'm going to make the Zoom meeting next week, the class meeting. I'm going to make that mandatory. So I expect to see all you guys there then. But anyway, have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble. Make the best of the situation. And I miss you guys. See you later. Bye. Bye. Bye.